Hello everyone, the channel has reached over 100 subscribers, and I'm over the moon about it. A big thank you to everyone who supports the channel. With that said, enjoy the video. Let me take this opportunity to give you a final walkthrough of the project. The first scene that gets loaded is the Start menu scene. That's because we've set it as the main scene under the Run tab in the settings. So far so good. Inside the main menu scene, there's a button. When we press this button, we instruct the Scene Manager autoload to trigger the function setScene to index with parameter 2. Let's dive deeper into the Scene Manager. The Scene Manager consists of an array of scenes, which we can list and rearrange at will. The function setScene to index ensures the current scene gets replaced with a new one based on the given index. So, looking at the scene with index 2, we find ourselves in level 1. Let's say the player dodges all dangers and reaches the goal flag. Let's see what happens next. The goal scene patiently waits for a player to touch it. When that occurs, the reached signal is fired. On its own, this doesn't do much, because a signal needs a listener. When we look into the level script, we see it searches for all the goal scenes within and connects the reached signal. Once the goal scene triggers the signal, the level scene catches it and instructs the Scene Manager autoload to use the next scene function. The Scene Manager then ensures the currently running scene is terminated and the next scene in the array starts up. This cycle repeats until we eventually reach the Win menu, the last scene in the array. When we press the button in the Win menu, we instruct the Scene Manager to jump back to the Start menu. And with that, the game starts all over again. Let's see what happens when the player fails to reach the end of the level. Let's say Mr. Spike succeeds in his sinister plot to take down our adorable little space adventurer. When the player dies, he sends out the dead signal. Again, the signal by itself doesn't do much without a listener. In this instance, our listener is once again the level script. This time, it searches for all player scenes within itself and connects the died signal. If this signal gets triggered and is picked up by the level instructs the Scene Manager to invoke the setScene to index function with parameter 0. In the Scene Manager array, the scene associated with index 0 is the Game Over menu. By pressing the button, we instruct the Scene Manager to switch to the scene indexed at 2, which in our example is level 1. Thus, the cycle comes full circle once again. Lastly, let's delve into what happens when the player collects a coin. For this, we'll closely inspect the coin scene. The coin scene lies in wait for the player to touch it, subsequently firing off the collected signal. In this instance, the local variable score is also sent along. As always, the signal on its own doesn't affect anything without a listener. So, let's pivot to the level scene and examine it further. The level searches for all coins within itself and connects the collected signal. I believe a pattern is starting to emerge by now. When a coin is gathered by the player, the level script instructs the game controller autoload to execute the setScore function using the current score as its parameter. Let's cast our eyes to the game controller autoload. The game controller's main role is to store and globally avail the high score and the score. The setScore function logs the new score and checks whether this score surpasses the existing high score. If it does, the new high score is adjusted accordingly. Switching back to the level scene, at the top of the script, we retrieve the current score at the level start via the game controller's getScore function, saving it in the current score variable. The level then employs the current score variable for further processing. This structure ensures that levels can be swapped out by the Scene Manager without losing track of the respective score. Let's take a closer look at this using our game as a concrete example. When you start your game in the editor, you can switch to the Remote tab on the left. This allows you to see and debug the scene tree currently in use in the game. At the start, we notice our 3 autoloads. They are loaded only once during the game's initial launch and are then always available. The last scene we see is the main menu scene. This scene is continuously reloaded and initialized through the Scene Manager. Let's observe this process. As soon as we press the button, the scene changes to the level 1 scene. Let's observe what happens when the player dies. In this case, the scene manager ensures that the Game Over menu scene is loaded. Thus, there's always only one active scene in the scene tree at a time. Here's a side tip: you can expand the scenes in the remote scene tree to get a detailed view of what's happening in the game. This has often helped me uncover nasty bugs. As a final note, I highly recommend checking out the Godot 4 documentation. There you'll find everything you'd want to know about the Godot game engine. I've rarely come across such comprehensive documentation, and it's one of the main reasons I transitioned to the Godot game engine. So, remember, read the docs.